meeting. Are you ready? Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This meeting of online presenters has now begun. Guests, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or former active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 Toastmaster official speeches, or alternatively, if you have substantial relevant presentation experience, you may apply for membership after demonstrating your abilities in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered during one of our club meetings. All requests for membership are subject to approval by the members of our club. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and role if you have one. Right-click and select Rename to do so. We have members and guests from many countries throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we will be recording the meeting. Your video or audio contribution may be used for club marketing purposes. Also, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking. Please welcome our club president, DTM, Andrew Byrne.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that, Carolina. Welcome to everybody, especially to our guest, Linda. We appreciate you being here, and feel free to bring all your friends to our club. We are very welcoming and look forward to seeing them all here. As far as we are now entering just about by next week, the month of December, which is the last month in the second quarter of our Toastmasters year. What does that mean for you? It means to start focusing on where do you want to end up by the end of the year. Almost half the year is gone. So that means you need to be thinking about paying dues for the next session that's coming up. And that comes lately in March, but we're able to take your dues for the next session and get that out of your hair and not worry about that. So we can do that. You do that before the end of the year so that both your payments are in the same calendar year for those in the United States and have to worry about tax deductions and things of that nature. The other thing is training. Clubs that have their officers and members trained are more successful statistically than those clubs that do not have them trained. And that's very, very important because we are a unique educational system. We are a system where training takes place by experiential, which means doing. So we teach by doing and by participating. That's how our system is set up. And so you don't have any massive gurus or leaders leading everybody. You don't have one book or anything like that. You have a collective working to help you do better and providing feedback and help you move forward within our system. Therefore, it's important to know that there are many districts that offer that training. I know in District 47, which is one of my club areas, there are posted dates for when you have additional training in any one of the 7 roles, ranging from president to the sergeant at arms role. Feel free to take part in those sessions. If you want, take the time to ask current officers, what's it like doing that role? Because I have an interest in doing an officer role. It's one of the requirements of getting to the Distinguished Toastmaster certificate. You need to do an officer role for a year. So might as well pick on one that you enjoy and you want to get the most out of, where you can learn the most. Those things are there. If you want more information, I'll be happy to share that with you and point you in the right direction. Lastly, think about speaking to David as the Vice President of Education of participating in a variety of activities that we have coming up and being planned for, whether it's a speech that's done in a recorded way for contests, for the international contest. We have a prior winner of that international award in terms of Angela Heath. And there's no reason we can't take that award back every year. So let's start a track record. That's about it for right now. I turn it back to you, Carolina.
Thank you, Andy. And to start the meeting, I would like to introduce the Toastmaster of the day. She will be conducting the whole session. She's Deborah Carr. Welcome, Deborah.
Everyone, well, we're on the spot, and as soon as, if the two speakers would please send me some intro, if you have your intro or whatever ready, there's one that just came in, that would help out. If we have an or counter, you can start with me tonight, Carolina. Anyway, is there anyone that does have a tip for the day in their pocket that would just like to share something with us? Go ahead, Christine.
Excellent. I just wanted to ask everybody, I don't want to assume, who has heard of TED Talks? TED Talks, okay. I just wanted to know, I'm going to give you some information a little bit on it. And the tip of the day is 3 to 5 minutes. So I'm going to take that up and make sure that we learn a little bit. Okay, TED, T-E-D is an acronym. It means Technology, Entertainment, and Design. And it was launched in the 1980s. In the United States, it's very well known. And there are some requirements. People that have spoke on the stage of TED Talk, and some have done so very well. They're speakers around the world. To speak on TED Talk, on a TED Talk stage, then you prepare for it 18 minutes or less. It's no longer. You do not get paid to speak on there, but they will pay your travel and lodging cost if you are presented to speak there. Now, also, there's 5 tips on a TED Talk. We're Toastmasters to speak. This takes it to a greater level to be a paid speaker, right? So there are 5 quick tips. I know that you know how to be a speaker, but I'm going to be specific what TED Talk looks for. Okay, so there's 5 steps. One is begin with the end in mind. Again, you've heard this before, but they really want to dive in. What's the point of this talk? There's many questions that your audience is going to be asking themselves. Exactly, did this help me? What's it going to, now what's going to happen? What does it mean? What does this have to do with me? Because the audience is wanting to be fulfilled, and enlightened and learned. Okay, they want to have this. So you have to give them action steps also to implement what you taught them. But if they hear you speak, but literally don't do anything different, then what's the point? So begin with the end in mind. 2, hone in your big idea. What that means, there's 3 keys. To have the 3, it needs to be interesting, important, and individual. That means, do you have the authority to speak on this topic? It could be due to backgrounds, life experiences, research. And that's what they're really making sure that it's you individual. You can be somebody that's been in a closet all your life, but you have a big story of something you've overcame. That's huge on TED Talk stages. It's not that you have your MBA degree and you've learned how to talk right. That doesn't really appeal to them. They want, because they believe that stories move people. So who can address an important unmet need in the world and be passionate enough to share about it? Okay, another tip, number 3, is write out your material to tell a story. So some speakers, they don't just make stuff up. When you're professional, you don't just write a few thoughts and then shoot from the hip. You take the time to really write. You connect with stories, funny stories, sad stories, inspirational stories. It's just like our contest. We have 5 to 7 minutes to make a difference. Thank heavens we have 18 minutes, but what are you going to make in that 18 minutes? So you want to tell them, fill them with stories to keep the audience engaged, as well as have them learn from your experience, as well as give them an action call. So write out the material, tell the story, work it. Absolutely work it. You'll be surprised. You can even use a 3rd-person story. There's nothing wrong with that. Or some case examples. So as that, it's much easier when you have the stories to go along with it. Number 4, prepare for the presentation. Oftentimes speakers want to have PowerPoint or key slides. This is lazy stuff. Don't do this. There was one speaker that spoke the whole 18 minutes without any PowerPoint. He was the best speaker on the job. So you don't need those crutch things. But if you do use a slide, it needs to be an enhancement, not a replacement of your talk. If you're just going to go stand up there and read off the screen, what did the audience pay for? Okay, so the images is to basically make your point. And that's it, to emphasize what you're already saying. That's the main part on there. So in PowerPoints, we got to be careful with that. And then lastly, on stage, be an amplified version of you. The bigger the venue, the bigger you need to be on stage, literally, where you are all there plus some. The way you would communicate to a group of 10 people is different than if you had a room of 10,000 people. These big TEDx talks, stages, they're 10,000 and up. Both should be an authentic version of you. As you know, with what we're training Toastmasters, many Toastmasters make the big stage and they do very, very well in life and become very top paid speakers. But the bottom line is keep it slow and steady. When you're starting to talk really fast, it becomes difficult for the audience to follow. It's hard to keep up with the process. Now, me and Toastmasters, I talk fast because I only have 7 minutes to make a point. So I have to learn to slow down and not have as many points. The faster you talk, it's also harder to understand what you're saying. So when we slow down and enunciate, which we learn this in Toastmasters, then don't be afraid also because of the silence. The silence to a speaker can feel deafening, but it can also be exactly powerful, the power that you want. So that's why to rewrite, practice so you can make your point strong and have them, just let them feel that. And conclusion, all in all, TED and TEDx talks, it's not going to drive revenue for anyone speaking, but it will provide a tremendous platform for reaching your area of expertise. And believe me, there's a lot of areas of expertise. So with that, I encourage you to seek out TEDx and learn a little bit more how you can be the speaker everybody's been waiting for. Back to you.
So we're ready for me now, right? Or does, I didn't know if someone introduced me or not. Okay. I have, as a Toastmaster tonight, I have a support team. And with the support team, I'm wondering if there is someone that I didn't, that is watching the chat monitor. Has anybody spoken for that at all? Oh, there it is. Joni's doing it. Joni's a busy woman tonight. Thank you. Okay. So tonight, we part of the team that we have together, we have a timer. Toro, would you explain the timing tonight for us, please?
Thank you very much. So as a timer, I will show you the passage of time in each category of speech. And the first thing is, as for the prepared speech, I will change my screen, color of the screen to green when you reach 5 minutes, and yellow at 6 minutes, and red in 7 minutes. And the same token as for the table topics, 1 minute and 1 minute and 30 seconds and 2 minutes. And as for the evaluation, 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And when you reach, when you see the red screen, you have to wrap up your speech within 30 seconds. That is the rule. And be careful about your time management so that you can speak your speech within a range of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Toro. I didn't say the word of the day is enchanted. For anyone, is enchanted. I'm still trying to look at my agenda, make sure I have everybody. Anyway, so it's magic in the air, under a spell. Things are magical. Timing's just perfect. It can be just being delighted and also charmed. Our next person that's helping out tonight is our grammarian, who's back online, and that's Kim Learning. Kim, if you want to explain what you're going to be doing this evening.
Absolutely. Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, Deborah. As my role as grammarian is to watch for the usage of the word of the day, and again, it's enchanted, and to also look for like colorful displays of the English language. And I will report back at the end of the day with all the cool stuff I see. Actually, the enchanting words that are used, that's what I will check in back with you guys. Thank you. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day, Deborah.
Thank you, Kim. And our counter tonight is Carolina. If you will, I'm sure you probably have 6 down for me as I was stumbling getting started. So let's start again.
Thank you, Deborah. My role today is to count the grunts, the awkward sounds, the repetitions when you are speaking. Be careful, it's better to do a pause instead of make an awkward sound. At the end of the meeting, I will give you my report. Deborah, back to you.
Thank you. And our watcher tonight is Antoinette. Antoinette, what are you going to be watching for?
Many things. Personally, I think being a watcher is one of the easiest rules. All that I need is to have visual perception, which is a cognitive process. I need to keep looking at everyone and the different backgrounds, absorb it, organize them in my brain so I can gather some sense of it, and provide a feedback when told to do so. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day, Deborah.
Thank you, Antoinette. And our one-arm paper hanger tonight she's speaker plus chat monitor, and that's Joni. Joni, tell us what you're going to do as chat monitor.
As chat monitor, I will be making sure that we keep our keystrokes in check. I know it's enchanting, the opportunity to pop in with your opinion at any time. I too fall victim. But we do need to keep in mind that the speaker is affected and they see you, and as such, I will be paying close attention to how we utilize the chat to enhance or take away from the overall meeting process. Back to your Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Joni. And last but not least, we always vote. And tonight, the vote counter is Rick Derling. Rick, tell us
Good evening, everybody. I will be your vote counter tonight, and I ask you to use the link that I will be posting in chat to vote. It is certainly possible to send me a vote, but it'll be far easier for both of us if you use the link that I post in chat. I thank you. Back to you.
Okay, and thank you, Rick. All right, I have to find, there's Rosena. Good. Our speakers tonight, and did I do this right? I did this right. Okay. Our first speaker tonight is Rosena Duncanson. And the purpose of her project is for Rosena, am I right? Okay, is for Rosena to present a speech on any topic, receive feedback, and apply the feedback to the second speech. Will you help me welcome, please, Rosena? Well, to be unmuted. It's not to say to the lectern, there isn't one.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the Day, Deborah Carr. A matter of time. Tick, tick, tock goes the sound of the magic wall clock. As long as it ticks, things can be done. But when it stops, work must come to an end. Tick, tick, tock. Tick, tick, tock goes the magic wall clock. You can't make time go any faster or slower, and there's really no way of knowing when it's going to expire. Tick, tick, tock. Does anything remind you of the magic wall clock? As it ticks, we keep moving, and when it stops, we expire. That's right, life. Life is like the magic wall clock, not really knowing when it will stop. Each second matters. Ask the track and field athlete who was trained for years for that Olympic race, the 100-meter dash. On your mark, get set, go. As the seconds count down and the finish line is in sight, seconds matter as that athlete tries to beat his personal best. Tick, tick, tock. How about that student that has studied for months for their exam? Exam day is there and they're watching the seconds count down as the exam comes to an end. The anxiety, the emotional trauma, the waiting for the results. Every second matters. Minutes matter too. As that plane taxis down the runway and pulls up to the gate, minutes matter as you arrive to that large international airport with the connecting flight that you have to catch, but you're on the other side. Minutes matter as you run through the airport hoping to get to the gate in time, and you watch the gate close. That was the last flight of the day. Tick, tick, tock. It's only a matter of time before the magic life clock expires. What are you doing with your time? Have you tried that new experience? You know, that one that's been playing around in your head for years. That new experience that you saved for, studied for, talked to all your friends about. Have you tried it yet? There's still time. How about that course you need to get promoted? Yeah, it's gonna cost a couple extra dollars and some time investment, but have you started? You've been there for years, just waiting to get to the next level. What are you doing with your time? Did you make that call? You know, that friend who's been on your mind for quite some time, that friend you have not heard from in a moment. Have you called them? What about that apology? Will you finally apologize for that pain you didn't intend to cause? Created unnecessary conflict and then special moments lost? You know it's not too late. Tick, tick, tock. Your magic life clock has a couple of ticks left. What will you do before it stops? Will you run that marathon? Do that TED talk? Bake that cake? Try that new recipe, put it on your plate. Play that instrument and take that flight, even though it might be late. Are you gonna call that friend and say, I'm sorry? Enjoy the moment before the minute ends. Tick, tick, tock. As long as it ticks, things can be done. But when it stops, work must come to an end. What will you do while your life clock still ticks? Madam Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Rosena. Wonderful. And our next speaker, she's standing up, she's getting ready, is Jodi Laidlaw. Jodi, DTM, Jodi Laidlaw, will be sharing her local cultural I'm sorry, let's start all over, Deb. DTM Jody Laidlaw will be sharing her local cult in my thing. She's going to be speaking. Now everything just choked. Can't find your screen. I lost it. There it is. She'll be sharing her local culture while utilizing descriptive language. Help me please welcome Jody to the screen.
And if them talk about 40 smarty, them say you. When we are talking about one smarty, we say you. And if I'm more than one smarty, we say, oh no. Yes. You're right, all in English, them say bad, worse, worst. And them stop there, so. We say bad. Was. And when we thinking bad, was down, we say was a rat. Was a rat. Somebody dear afterwards say, we don't have nothing for shame because like when English say, I got stuck by a prickle. We just say, make a joke, me.
The nuances of language is so entertaining. I can tell you that based on where I grew up and my culture, I'm able to understand the vernacular. However, Miss Lou, who is one of our cultural icons, sometimes as she wax philosophical, utilizing the native language that I grew up listening to the rhythmic beat of how the words rolled off of the tongues of those around me, I still at times go, huh? And I personally don't even understand what was said, let alone for somebody outside of my culture who has never experienced or had the nuances and the context to understand what him just said a while ago. I mean, what was just stated? Growing up mixed culture, meaning spending quite a lot of time before the television and it being my first teacher, I do understand that they're technically second because those around me acted as the first. My national culture, where the garb and costumes of the person originally in this video, clad in her cotton petticoat with a florin and lace trim of her hem, stepped forward and took the Jamaican alphabet from here, as Usain Bolt said, to the world. Now, even in the hallowed halls of the Harvard University, patois is now being taught as a part of culture now in America. I mean, after all, everybody want to be Jamaican. I mean, doesn't everybody have a desire, would enjoy being one of the persons perceived as laying on the beach all day, irie, no problem, man? Our culture and nuances take on so much more. What did I appreciate about our robust, thick cultural ambassador who took not only the fact that our culture endows you, not only physically, but verbally with the prowess to explain yourself in a manner that may not quite be what we are used to, because like dessert, it fills you up in an also good way, like a good sweet potato pudding. What did she bring? And what did I learn? The same thing I learned at the feet of my ancestors and my grandparents, as well as parents, imparting tales and knowledge. Now for you, it might have been Cinderella or little Miss Muffet who sat on her tuffet eating her curds and whey. I personally was considered quite philosophical by the other children around me because I was able to recite the fact that we can go bring around the rosy and have a pocket full of posies. These were the things that were shared to us as children as cautionary tales and lessons. It tended to be universal. Why do I have no issue with others being a part of my culture? Because I too learned from theirs. I like the fact that Miss Lou took Brother Anansi, the name gone abroad. He moved from the boat which took us from Africa. He stowed away and became a part of our Caribbean culture. And each Caribbean island contained a different annotation. Mine being one as well, because when we chat patois, we speak patois. We also discuss him. Brother Anansi took that same boat and stowed away in Miss Lou's pocket, and the eight-legged arachnid ensured that his wild, whimsical, enchanting stories, tales, and exploits were brought with him there as well. He became a learning tool for children to teach karma. Now, I share him with you. There's some unusual stories that you may have to understand our vernacular and learn to chat like a Jamaican. Do I think it's cultural appropriation? Honestly, in the words of Miss Lou, Jack Mandora, me no choose none. What does that mean? It means I don't pick a side. I will take it how I get it. Because while I'll get my Becky on for the sake of communication, so I can explain in a voice, a tone, and a language that you would understand based on your circumstances and where you grew up, I too would like if somebody walked over to me and said something more than, "It's Irie man. We all want to be Jamaican." So today, I'm going to teach us one phrase in closing. Jack Mandora, me no choose none. The meaning, literally, is Jack Mandora, I do not choose any. The cultural meaning is I have told it the way I have received it. And we use this when we're counting tales and stories. So everybody after me, Jack Mandora, me not choose none. We're not gonna even try? I see Toastmaster Deborah doing so. And
Yes.
with that, I return the virtual lectern to our Toastmaster of today.
Thank you, Joni. And my apology, what happened is when Joni turned on her screen, when she did her share screen, it wiped out my chat. And I couldn't find her introduction. I thought, yeah, but anyway, we got through it. We've had two great speakers. And Toro, I would like to have the timer report, please.
Thank you. Speaker number one, Toastmaster Rosena Duncanson. Her speech lasted 5 minutes and 8 seconds. And speaker number two, Toastmaster Laidlaw, 6 minutes and 50 seconds. So both are qualified.
Great, thank you so much. If you would please send your vote to Rick Durling, that would be absolutely great between the two of them. Our next part of our Toastmasters meeting, it goes with the chat missing. The next part that we have is one of my favorite parts. It's table topics. I like all parts of Toastmasters, actually. And Isabel Kadori has that set up for us tonight. She's our table topic master. So Isabel, go for it.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the day. Fellow Toastmasters, my pleasure to be your table topics master. Table topics is a key component of the Toastmasters program. It's designed to train members to quickly organize and express their thoughts in an impromptu setting. Your table topic speech should be about 1 to 2 minutes long. And Mr. Timer, please give us a green signal and 1 minute, a yellow signal and 1.5 minutes, and a red signal and 2 minutes. If the speaker sees the red signal, please wrap up in 30 seconds. Our meeting theme today is there is magic in the air. When I searched the phrase magic in the air, a song came up. The first line of the lyrics reads, feel the magic in the air. How does it make you feel when you are told to feel the magic in the air? I would like to ask our Madam Accountant, Caroline, how would you feel if you were told to feel the magic in the air?
Thank you, Isabel, for your question. The magic in the air. When do I feel the magic in the air? How do I feel about the magic in the air?
What came to your mind?
Okay, I think that magic in the air is when magical things are happening and are happening in your life. Sometimes the planets are aligned. Sometimes everything you have been working for come to your life and you're successful. Or maybe when someone you meet someone very important, maybe someone you were waiting for without knowing it. I think that is magic in the air. In my case, I have felt that magic these 2 last years because I have worked a lot in the previous years without knowing without seeing my path very clearly, but then everything started to I started to see the results and good things, good people, the job I wanted, the people I love, the man I love, everything came to my life. And I think that when happened to you is magic in the air. Maybe I can describe that phrase like that. Back to you, Isabel.
Thank you, Caroline. I think you did a wonderful job to describe your life as magic in the air. The next question is, if you could have just one magic power, what would it be? Madam Watcher and Antoinette, if you could have just one magic power, what would it be?
Thanks for that interesting question to Topics Master of the Day. If I could have one magic power, what would that be? Personally, I always dream of myself being athletic. I always think that I will be 100-meter champion. Actually, when I grew up, we used to do a lot of races, boys against girls, relays. And at this age in my life, I always think that, I could have made it, if only I had the opportunity or opportunities. In my childhood days, I would win medals and so on when we have sports. And that was such an enjoyment for me. So that if I had a magic power, I would possibly be like Usain Bolt. I would really want to be like that. But time did tell, I'm not so. Anyhow, I still do my exercises every day for about half an hour. I don't want to be like possibly a Miss Trinidad and Tobago now. I just want to build some muscles, get it firm, and have my shoulders tall and lay back. And that would be my magic power if I only had that one opportunity. Back to you, Table Topics Master Isabel.
Wonderful, Toastmaster Antoinette. And I share the same feelings whenever I saw those runners. I feel like it's amazing to have that kind of athletic body with you. Awesome. Next question. I always feel enchanted by how the future world might become when I watch a science fiction movie. Whatever make you feel enchanted, please share your story. I would like to call our vote counter, Rick. Please tell us whatever made you feel enchanted. Please help me welcome Toastmaster Rick.
Isabel, thank you for that question. I'm going to repeat it because I think it's worth repeating as part of my answer. What do I find enchanting that really enchants me and brings me joy and peace? And you mentioned in your discussion prior to asking me this question, a future state. The state that I would like to see us all get to is an easy one, where we understand one another and accept one another for who we are, rather than fighting with one another constantly over the silliest of things. If we could just get to that point where we accept one another for who we are and accept that some of us are really great at some things and some people are great at other things. We don't need to get into strife and stress if we can find a way just to be at peace with one another. That, to me, is an enchanting situation. And we do find it. We actually find that in today's world. To be sure, there are people that are undergoing enormously horrible things. But every once in a while, a very special thing happens, and we're all enchanted by how wonderful that makes us feel. Wouldn't it be even greater if everyone in the world could be in that situation where they're enchanted just by the fact that they are, feel that they are enough, and accept everyone else for who they are? Let's get rid of the fights. Let's get rid of the wars. Let's get rid of all of that and live in an enchanted world. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster Rick. That was a very enchanting world that you described. Next question. If an enchanter casts a magic spell on you, everything you touch would turn into gold. How would you manage your life? I would like to call Toastmaster Andre Salanko. If an enchanter casts a magic spell on you, everything you touch would turn into gold. How would you manage to live your life?
Thank you very much, Madam Table Topics Master. What a beautiful question. Is that type of questions that we call Christmas crackers in England. When you sit around the Christmas table, or perhaps around Thanksgiving in the United States, or maybe in other countries as well. Family, friends, you had a few drinks, and then, pum, that question, what would I do if everything that I touch would turn into gold? I would love it. I would enjoy it. And I think I would keep my hands up, and I already had a plan in my head about that kind of things. And of course, probably the question is referring to the famous story about golden antelope that turned a greedy king and his hands into gold. Everything he touched would turn into gold, his family and so on. However, it's the fairy tale for children. These days, you would just enjoy it. And I think I would become really famous on TikTok, Facebook. I would go on more and more social media as the guy who turns anything he touches into gold. And then perhaps with plastic surgery, you could maybe amputate them and just leave them on the sides. And you could make not only people wealthy, but you could resolve their poverty problem all around the world. Andre traveling golden hand from place to place, turning, making money for poor people. I really love that idea. And I really appreciate you, Madam Table Topics Master, asking me that question. My imagination could go on and on and on. At the same time, as we know, all those things just fairy tales. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you. That was a very positive view, Mr. Goldhand. Next question. If you can choose to do one thing to help the world, what would that be? I saw Toastmaster Lisa Thompson. You were on earlier. Would you like to take this question?
Sure, that'd be wonderful. Would you
Yeah,
like
let
to
me-
ask again?
Let me repeat. If you can choose to do one thing to help the world, what would that be? Please.
Right. So as many of you know, I received my kidney transplant 4 years ago. And the one thing that I had chosen to do to help the world prior to that was I spent 40 years as a speech pathologist working with 2-year-olds and their families that were unable to speak. Well, the children were unable to speak. I worked with the family to help them to speak. And it was my pleasure to do that. I had a lot of successes. And since then, I received my kidney. And when I woke up from surgery, the one thing that I really wanted to do was to help other people in need of a kidney transplant to receive their living donor kidney. So that's what I'm doing. I'm working with over 400 clients, and I work with the National Kidney Registry and the National Kidney Donation Organization, and I help people to find their living kidney donors. It's a lot of work for them. It's a lot of work for the coaches and the mentors, but we're doing it. And right now we have 20% success rate for this year, and we're looking forward to get many, many more people transplanted in the coming year. So if you can find it within your heart when you see someone in need of a kidney, please share their story so that they can find their living kidney donor. And if any of you feel so moved to get tested, I'm sure in this holiday spirit of giving that they would really appreciate whatever you can do to help them to live to see many more Christmases. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Thompson. Yes, I'm really impressed by your spirit and your action in helping the world.
Thank you. If I can comment quickly, we're having a meeting Sunday and we really need help. Right now, we're looking for a few evaluators for speeches and a few other roles to be filled. I believe we need a quote master. So if any of you, I'll put it in the chat. And if any of you are available Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time, we would really appreciate the spirit of giving of your energy to make our group successful. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Madam Toastmaster of the day, do we have time for more table topics?
I think we're good.
Okay, so
we're
that,
Yeah.
well, everyone did a great job giving impromptu speech, and thank you all for your participation. I think we have 5 table topic speakers. And please remember to vote your favorite table topic speech and using the link in the chat. And this concludes the table topic segment. I will now return the control of the meeting to Madam Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Isabel. Toro, can we please have the vote or the timer report?
Okay, thank you. The first speaker, Toastmaster Carolina, her speech lasted 1 minute 49 seconds. Second speaker, Toastmaster Antoinette, is 1 minute and 57 seconds. Third speaker, Rick Darling, 2 minutes, 3 seconds. Fourth speaker, Andriy Smolenko, 1 minute 55 seconds. And last speaker, fifth speaker, Toastmaster Lisa Thompson, 1 minute and 59 seconds. So all are qualified for voting.
Absolutely great. If you'll please send your vote to Rick Durling, that would be wonderful. Lisa, on a side note, I will say that quite a few years ago, I think, well, gosh, it's longer than I thought. It's probably 10 years now. My niece donated, she was probably 28 years old at the time, 25 years old, and she donated a kidney to a 7-year-old, which was wonderful. And it is magical, it's enchanting with what all takes place with all of it. 2 hospitals, all the transporting, everything going on in Washington. So right now we have the timers report is done. We're voting, and I am going to turn everything over to Rick Barber. Rick Barber. Oh my gosh, Jim
That's
Barber.
okay. I've
Yeah, I
been
know.
called worse.
I know. They're general evaluator for tonight, and I'm glad that I took this position, but I'm glad that I can screw up and pass it right over to Jim. There you go, Jim.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster Marilyn Carr. Appreciate that. It is now time for what some people consider the most enchanted, the most enchanted part of the Toastmasters meeting, the evaluations portion, in which 2 of our members will evaluate our 2 prepared speeches of earlier this evening. Before we go to the evaluations, I wish to remind our evaluators that the time of their evaluations will be 2 to 3 minutes. Please be careful on your evaluations. Our first speaker of the evening was Joni Laidlaw, and we are privileged to have evaluating Joni's presentation, Andrei Smolenko. Andrei, take it away.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator, my fellow online presenters, and most importantly, Joni. What a powerful, bright, Jamaican style speech. When I listened to your speech, I just couldn't stop my smile going wider and wider and wider. And all those typical Jamaican phrases that you used, I think they made us all engaged. I just couldn't take my eyes and my ears, most importantly, from what you were saying in your speech. You started with enthusiasm and passion. You started by showing a small video of one of the greatest Jamaican cultural icons lady. Honestly, I couldn't understand most of that. At the same time, I could feel the energy, and I could see that was important part of your story. Then the purpose of your project was to switch from dialect into English and engage your audience in using descriptive language. And I think you did it brilliantly. I could see everyone's faces were glued to the screen, telling stories about the Anansi spider who traveled from one place to another. In many countries, even in Ukraine, where I'm from, we hear Anansi stories. You probably be surprised. Then you told us about your childhood, that some children called you a philosophical girl because you could recite a few English child's playground stories. And then you end up with a really powerful phrase, the phrase that you wanted us to remember. There are few recommendations I would like to make. One, despite you are incredibly powerful and almost professional speaker, one, perhaps the phrase that you want us to remember, you could use maybe 3 times throughout your speech. You could start with that, then you could tell us a little bit more about that phrase. Why is that so important? And in the end, you could ask us again to say it. Then suggestion number 2, pick up just 3 words, proper good money words in Jamaica, and make us to repeat them. Translate into English. Overall, passion, enthusiasm, incredible transitions from Jamaican into English, man. Perhaps taking into account few recommendations if you really want us to learn, then would make your speech right next to the next level. Thank you, Johnny. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Andre. Terrific evaluation. Our second speaker this evening was Rosena Duncanson, and we are honored to have evaluating Rosena's presentation online presenters on President Andy Byrne. Andy, the stage is yours.
Thank you very, very much. And thank you to Rosena Duncanson, fellow Toastmasters, dignitaries. It is my pleasure and honor to do an evaluation of what I observed, what I saw, what I heard, and how I felt about Rosena's speech. As many of you may or may not know, we talk about evaluations and talk about the sandwich technique. But did you know that there are almost 25 different frameworks for evaluation? This is covered in a pamphlet called the Marvin Evaluation Guide and shows you 20 different ways of doing an evaluation. So I'm going to focus on what I saw, what I heard, and how I felt about her speech. What did she do really, really well? Are you a songwriter, Rosena? The reason why I asked that question is you used a very, very common thing that songwriters and reverends from the pulpit use, and that's rhythmic repetition. Rhythmic repetition helped you drive the point home and got you in a repeating pattern for people to remember what was going on. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. It was a very engaging opening. And as we went through thinking about, and how much time do we have? And are we wasting our time or using our time? For a typical person hitting 78 years of age, that's about 112,320 minutes of time. How are you spending your time? My wife is constantly saying, you're spending too much time on Toastmasters. You could be doing other things. You could be getting paid. So these are things that run through my mind all the time and through my wife's mind. It was engaging because it was a repetitive rhythmic thing that made me think about what your main point of your talk was. You used some special metaphors of racing and other kinds of issues that allowed you to think about how you're using your time. You talked about the apology and conflict and how tick-tock, tick-tock, don't let time pass. I think about stories about people saying on their deathbed, what would you have done differently? And most people say, I would have spent more time with my family. Very few people say, I would have spent more time at work. It's that kind of thing that my wife is constantly saying to me. She says, you want to spend more time with the family? Start now. I go into less Toastmaster meetings. So that's one thing that we think about. But thing to take home is that you did a very good job of using rhythmic repetition to get us all engaged. You were well dressed. I liked your background. It wasn't confusing or distracting, and that's very important. Your face was well lit. I got to see your bright eyes and your beautiful smile, and that added to the engagement in your talk. Really enjoyed it. What would I have done differently? Not much. I was confused a little bit when you said a matter of time, because I didn't know if you're going to go down that road of time management and all of those kinds of things. but you did a great job with what you did. Made us think about us and how we're spending our time. Great job.
Thank you, Andy. Great job on your part. Appreciate that. Toru, how did our evaluators do timing wise? Did they both qualify?
Okay, both are qualified. Andrei Smelenko, Toastmaster Smelenko, his speech lasted 3 minutes, 8 seconds. And as for Toastmaster Andrew Byrne, 3 minutes and 30 seconds sharp. Thank you.
Thank you, Toru. Appreciate that. All right. Would you please, Rick has put a vote for the best evaluator in the chat. If you would please cast your votes. Rick would appreciate it. I would appreciate that. While you are doing that, I'm going to call on our various specialists for their reports this evening. I would ask, again, remind our specialists that keep their reports, please, to 1 minute. So that we don't run over time. I will start with our chat monitor, our multitasking chat monitor of the evening, Joni Laidlaw. Joni, what did you see in the chat?
I'm not certain if I was so enchanting. Therefore, I enchanted everyone that they utilize the chat only for necessities and used it as a tool to enhance the meeting. Overall, it was used effectively for this meeting. That's the regional evaluation.
And thank you, Joni. Antoinette was our watcher this evening and she was keeping an eye on us. Antoinette, what did you see?
Surely I kept an eye on everybody. I particularly loved Toastmasters Jim and Toastmaster Andrew's background, with one being a Mickey Mouse, one being a magic wand. I don't know how they do it. I keep trying to get those things and I can't seem to get it right. I don't know if anybody can show me. Anyway, all in all the screens, everybody were properly centered, squared, everything. I will not talk on Rosanna's background. Her evaluator already spoke to that already. So all in all, it was great. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Antoinette. The Wizard of Oz tonight was Carolina. Carolina, how did we do filled pause wise? Oh, it's
Jim, Jim, you did an awesome job. 15 participants and only 4 participants with grants. The favorite grant was and you can see here the performance of each participant and the number of grants. Deborah, favorite grant Toru, Carolina, I like the S, Latin people like that grant, and Andre to us. And here you can see the the graphic situation. Back to you, Jim.
Thank you, Carolina. Very thorough. Appreciate that. And finally, if the technology gods are smiling upon her, Kim Lemming is our in this evening. Kim, are you still with us?
I actually am. Okay, so for the word enchanting, we had a 3-way tie. Joni just added 2 at the very end to end up with a tie with Rick Derling and Isabel Kadori. Good job. So for some of these colorful uses of the English language, I'm going to say, sorry, I just did my arms. That type of question is considered Christmas crackers from Andre. Love that. Don't know what it means, but thought, yeah, very cool. Rick, enchanted by the feeling that they're enough. Love that. Isabel, positive view, Mr. Goldhand. That was just like super cool. Deborah, it's magical and enchanting when referring to the kidney donor. Love that. Jim, thank you, Marilyn Carr. Very funny and definitely extra kudo points. Andre, couldn't take my eyes and my ears from what you were saying. That was awesome. Deborah, Joni is the one-arm paper hanger, speaker, and chat monitor. Good. And I know I'm running long, so as long Rosena. Well, he kind of went over that with the TikTok, and so wonderful. Joni, Little Miss Muffet, who sat on her tuffet, and I loved your use of your main speech title, Jack Mandora, Many Choose None. Awesome. And Antoinette dreamed of being a 100-meter champion. I just love the specificity of your dream. That was very, very cool. And Andre, what I observed, saw, and heard, and the rhythmic repetition. Great. And back to you, Jim Barber, General Evaluator.
Thank you, grammarian Kim Leeming. I'm so glad the technology gods were cooperating at the end there. And now it is my opportunity to evaluate the meeting as a whole. I've got to start by giving a big kudo to Deborah Carr for being the Toastmaster of the evening. She stepped right up when Kim wasn't able to do it. So we asked Deborah, would you be Toastmaster? She didn't even hesitate. What'd you have, about 2 minutes notice, something like that? But you said, sure, I'll do it. Not a problem. And not only that, not only were you willing and agreeable, but you did a good job. Can't beat that. A terrific combination. So kudos there. Also, since I'm mentioning her, kudos to Kim Leeming for not having a meltdown when her technology went astray. It's easy to do, that sort of thing happens, but that's what we're here at Online Presenters for, is to learn how to master technology, even when it doesn't go the way we're supposed to. So you stuck with it, Kim, you were still here, and we appreciate that. Good, very good. Finally, kudos to Isabel for being our first time, at least at this club, Table Topics Master. I remember last week we asked Isabel, would she be Table Topics Master? And she was hesitant to do so. She didn't know if she would do a good job. Congratulations, Isabel. You did a great job. Those were terrific questions. You did wonderful, and I hope you'll do it again sometime soon. I have one last kudo, and it's to the 16, used to be 16 people that are here tonight. With the holidays, various holidays around the world, we're into the holiday season, and attendance is going to suffer a little bit. It's going to be hard for people to come to Online Presenters. It's going to be hard for them to break away from doing other things and so on like that. And 16 people tonight said it's important for me to be at that meeting. And kudos to each and every one of you, because you made the meeting happen. And that's my evaluation of the meeting. I now happily return control to our spontaneous Toastmaster of the day, Deborah Carr.
Thank you, Jim, rather than Mike or whatever I called you earlier.
I forgot to ask for votes. I'll let you do that.
Okay. And do we have all the votes tallied all up, Rick? Okay. Go for it if you want to tell us.
I put it in chat to you.
Oh, but I was going to let you do it. Oh, okay.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, go ahead. Cases wipes out again. Go for it.
Fair enough. Great. So let's give a round of applause to our best evaluator today, Andrew Byrne. And let's also give a round of applause to our best table topics, Lisa Thompson.
That was really nice and surprising. Thank you all very much. I didn't know I got that. Thank you.
Awesome job. And our best speaker is Rosena Duncanson. Give her a round of applause. Back to you.
My take on the meeting was just excellent. Everyone jumped in, took parts. We had our one-arm paper hanger, and everything just came together really well. And as we're closing down the meeting, I'm going to turn it back over to Andy Byrne.
I repeat what Jim said. I appreciate everybody coming to the meeting. I know that everyone has probably parties or other family obligations to take care of, And this is your family too, and we really appreciate you showing up because it made our meeting possible. When people are doing 2, 3, 4 roles at one time, it makes it really difficult to do that. So I really appreciate that. One thing that is true that was also said was that during this season of time, people tend to, let go of the meeting, but you can look at it from the bright side. That means there's more opportunity for everybody else to speak. And look at the end of the year. Where do you want to be when this year closes out? When December is done and we have just a few more times to meet, do you want to be done with your next path or in the path that you're in? I would like to see that happen. The more people that can finish their paths, the more people that can say, I got what I needed, I got what I wanted, I got what's moving forward from this club. And that's why I belong to this club, because I'm getting what I need each and every week. And I am moving along my journey, and I'm moving fast because of what I'm able to get from this club. So I hope you think about that as a positive as opposed to negative. Who hasn't been a Toastmaster of the day? I know that many people already have.